We're talking to the Underground King. We're talking to the most violent man in the UFC. We're talking to the one and only Eddie Alvarez right now. Eddie, how are you?
I'm excellent. What's up, Ariel?
All is well. I appreciate the time, Eddie. There's much to discuss with you. You sort of popped up midweek last week. Nate Diaz, a guy you've had your sort of run-ins with, tweets out that he's ready to come back. He's tired. He's bored. He's coming back May, June. You come back and say, "All right, May, June sounds good. Let's go." And then there's some more tweets there. Why is this of interest to you right now? Why did you respond to him? Where's your head at as it pertains to Nate Diaz?
None. I just thought it'd be a good fight. Nate, the Diaz name in general would be like it'd be one I'd like to have in my Sherdog record. Have a win over that name. I like, during my career, collecting names it's an important thing. Some people got me. I've gotten most, but just having that name in my resume, it'd be a real honor. So when he said something, I just thought it was like it was the equivalent of a guy like calling out a bunch of, there's a bunch of fighters in a group, and then some tough guy yells out, "You're all a bunch of bitches," and then walks away. So like he had to expect at least one guy to turn around and say something. And when you say that, you kind of got to be ready to fight someone or at least one of the guys that you called out. That was my thinking. Like we're all called a bunch of bitches, and then the guy just walks away and he don't say shit. It was really odd. I had a tough time like understanding why he would even say anything. I'm like, why would you say nothing if you're not willing to fight anybody? So that's why I started. I tweeted again. Like I kind of understood. Like this guy just wants to fight one guy. So if you just want to fight one guy, just like kind of talk to that one guy. Don't yell at a group of guys.
So you believe he has no interest in fighting any of you, whether it's you, Kevin Lee, who also said I'd love to fight him. You believe he only wants to fight Conor?
No, yeah. Like I'm like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, when Conor takes a break, Nate takes a break. You know what I mean? Like Conor's like, I ain't fighting till August, and Nate's like, I ain't fighting till July or some shit. He just, I guess his ego doesn't let him say, like, I just want to fight Conor. Just say it. Like, just be honest with everyone. If that's who you want to fight, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't call everyone out. And if you don't have no intention of fighting anybody, you're getting a bunch of fans excited who you're just bullshitting. You don't want any work from any lightweight in the division. Then just don't say anything to any of the lightweights in the division. Everything will be cool. But when you say things like that, you should be ready, to at least fight somebody.
So once this came out and you tweeted back at him, even the UFC's Twitter account started to play it up. I'm just curious, behind the scenes, can you tell us if there were any talks between you and the UFC, your management in the UFC? Are they interested in this fight? Are they trying to make this fight happen?
The UFC wants it. They called and said, what do we want? The UFC called just recently and said, hey, what do we got to do to make this fight happen? Basically asking me on my end, this is my last fight. I only have one fight left in my UFC contract. So for me, I'm like, hey, let's do this shit with a banger. Whatever we're gonna do, let's make it a big name. Let's have a big fight. So for me, I don't. It doesn't really matter. UFC saying, what do we got to do to make this fight happen? So I'm willing. The UFC's willing. And you got one guy out there talking a bunch of shit to a whole division, and they're not willing to step up or do anything. So I don't know. I don't quite know where Nate's head's at or what he wants to do. But we had some shit go on in the past where the UFC officials had to break us up. Back in Mexico, and I just thought, hey, you want to return, and you're saying some shit about the whole division. Why don't we finish, what we kind of started? But if you don't want to, no big deal. Like I said, it's just, it was like a pit stop for me before Ferguson and Khabib anyway. But if you don't want to, then I'll just keep helping Frankie get ready for Max, and we'll do it that way.
So you say the UFC is interested, and that's great news, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. Did they say to you, okay, if we make this fight happen, if we can get it done, we want to re-sign you as well? Would they let you go into the last fight of your contract against Nate Diaz? Or if you want the Diaz fight, you're going to have to sign another deal?
I think the UFC wants to keep going, wants to re-sign. I have they want to re-sign.
Okay.
But we haven't got to that agreement yet, but I'm sure we will. I have a good rapport with everybody there, and we're definitely going to sit down and come to an agreement. But for me, it's real about like what this next fight is, who it's going to be, whether it's the Tony Khabib, whether one of them guys drop out and I step right in, or whether Nate wants to do something in the meantime, or whatever, or whether I'm just helping Frank get ready for Max. That's just what it is. But I'm sitting here idle. And, that May, June just sound like a damn good date to me. So it is what it is.
In your mind, how are you approaching the last fight on your deal? Do you want to play it out? Do you want to test, you're kind of the guy who sort of kickstarted this whole free agent thing. Do you want to test the waters, or would you like to get something done even before that last fight happens?
To be honest, I don't care. Free agency is great. And in this sport, to be one of the top guys in the world, champion everywhere, and become a free agent, that's an amazing thing. I'm sure there'll be offers everywhere. But I have a good rapport with the UFC as well, and I'm sure they'll step up and they'll do the right thing and pay. But I don't care either way, Ariel. I just want some big fights, some fights that fans are going to get excited about. Get some people in front of me that is going to force me to fight in a way that gets everyone excited. I'm having a good time either way. I'm outside dance studio right now. My little daughter's dancing. I'm living life, living the dream, brother.
I appreciate you taking some time out, because I know she means the world to you. So thank you for that. We won't keep you too long, but I'm just curious, like if you can put yourself in his body. It's interesting, the timing. You bring up a great point, because they booked the title fight between Khabib and Tony Ferguson, so that kind of frees up Conor for a second, and then he comes out with this tweet. Why do you think he does this? Why do you think he throws it out there, hey, I'm coming after all of you, when in your mind, as you said, he just wants to fight one guy? Why do this? And does this make you think any differently of Nate Diaz, the way he's going about it, based on what you think his ultimate end goal is?
I don't know. I think as a fighter, we're in the public eye. We get a lot of attention, but most of the attention we get is when we're fighting, So when you're sitting there and ain't nobody giving you love or attention, maybe you throw a tweet out, maybe see if people still love me or not. I don't know. I don't know what it is. If you're not fighting and nobody's saying shit about you or giving you any love, maybe you just kind of want to, maybe let me get some attention from fans. You got to fight in order to get that attention from fans and get them to kind of to care about what you're doing. If you're not fighting, then fight fans aren't going to be all about that. You in general. So I just think it was maybe a little ploy for a little bit of attention, because he hasn't been getting any or whatnot. But he has his own shit going on. But I sincerely thought, hey, this guy's trying to rumble. He said May or June. He's calling the division a bunch of bitches. Maybe he has a guy in mind. So I just raised my hand. In Mexico, I got in his face after weigh-ins, because he kept doing that shit he always does to everyone, and nobody says shit to him. So I went right up to him, and then when I went right up to him, he couldn't even look me in the face. He looked down at the ground. I'm like, oh, this guy's supposed to be so fucking hardcore, so gangster. He look down he couldn't even look me in the face when I was confronting him about all the mean mugs and all that shit. And he looks at the ground, and then the UFC officials kind of jump in the middle of me and him, and then squash the whole thing. But I told him, after I beat Gilbert up, I said, you're fucking next. And we almost had something going right after the Gilbert fight, but that kind of fell to pieces. So I was like, hey, let's figure that out.
Yeah, I remember you being on the show 2 days after. I remember talking to him at the arena in Mexico, and it seemed like both of you wanted it at the time. Why didn't it ever happen? Do you remember?
Then because they were telling me I was on my way to get the belt. I'm like, I don't fucking want to fight. I'm about to get the belt. But who'd I have in front of me? I came in UFC and we had Gilbert, who was number 3, and then next was going to be like Pettis or something like that,
Yeah.
and then right to Dos Anjos. So it was like 3, 2, 1, and it wasn't like 3, and then I was already on a trajectory to get the belt. So I'm like, I was going to face the guys who were in front of me, and in this case, the 2 guys that are in front of me are fighting each other. And I'm probably still going to end up fighting one of them guys because that fight probably going to get scrapped. They're 0 for 3 there, so somebody might get scrapped. So I'll be ready for that. And if I'm not, I was just looking at Nate. Like, Nate will be a pit stop before Khabib or Tony, and that was my thinking. But he don't want no work. He wants one guy, and I don't even care. I'm not even blaming him for it. Take that dude. But don't say shit to anybody. Like, just don't get people excited. I'm not hating on them. Do your thing. Like, if you want to fight that one dude, go ahead and fight him. But don't. You say he's just like kind of lying to everyone. Oh, you're all bitches. Like, all right, man, you're tough. I don't know what to say.
Are you preparing for April 7th? Do you think that either Khabib or Tony is gonna pull out and then you can step in? Is that what you're preparing for right now?
To be honest, I'm not. I don't have any body or person in mind. I'm in the gym, and right now, Edson don't have a fight. Marlon, I don't have a fight. I don't have a fight book. So right now, the only people kind of on our mind is Max Holloway and getting Frankie ready for Max Holloway. So until they throw opponents in our face and stuff like that, that's where our mind's at. It's kind of getting my rounds in, getting my working out in, and then if I could watch Frank spar or even give him a round or something like that and help him out, that's where I think everybody in our training camp, that's where our minds are at right now.
Did you see that press conference they put on in Boston with Khabib and Tony where they said that they're fighting for the real belt, but Conor still has the belt, and they were skirting around it, and we don't really know what's going on, and neither do the fighters. And if you did see it, what do you think of this whole situation with the belt you once held?
So initially, all the reporters are going, so what's going on? But then I had I put a tweet out and I was like, it's silly that people are asking, is it for the belt? If they're fighting for the undisputed title, then they're going to strip Conor. They have to strip Conor. You can't have 2 undisputed titles. But then I seen another theory online. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what it is. What's going on is this fight is 0 for 3. They're not going to strip Conor of a belt and then have a vacant title for a fight that's 0 for 3. They have not been able to make this fight. Every time they book it, they're not able to make the fight. Either Khabib gets hurt or Tony gets hurt or someone gets hurt. So I think what the UFC is thinking is a theory. It's just opinion on my point is, this fight is not going to happen. It's a very unlikely chance that it's going to happen. So they're not going to strip the champion and then have this fight fall through and not have a champion. So I think the day of weigh-ins, they're going to strip him. It's going to make real big news, and then they're going to have a title fight. And it's also going to make big news. So it's going to make for a lot of publicity in one day. And that's my theory.
Okay. By the way, speaking of people Dustin Poirier is fighting Justin Gaethje on April 14th. Who do you like in that fight, your last 2 opponents?
Oh, it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a hell of a great fight. That's hard to say. Justin he's kind of like me. He don't go away. I think Dustin technically is a more sound fighter. Dustin a more sound fighter everywhere. Like standing up, he's a little bit cleaner. Justin got the better wrestling. Dustin with better jiu-jitsu. So I mean, it can go either way, but I don't know, man. Justin just don't quit. He has zero zilch, like no quit in him. Like not at any point in the fight when I was fighting Justin Gaethje, there's certain points where I was just damaging him bad and hitting him with really hard shots. And there wasn't any point in that fight, not for 1 second, where I felt like he is accepting defeat. Like not at any point, but where he was accepting it. He was just, in his mind or even in his spirit, I felt like he just always felt like he was going to win, always trying to do damage, always never giving up, And I couldn't say the same about my fight with Dustin Poirier. So like if that fight kind of gets into the little deeper rounds, I feel like Justin could take over and then start like doing serious damage, kind of like on the way the Michael Johnson fight went. But I think the first couple rounds, he's gonna have an uphill battle technically. So we'll see.
Last thing for you, Eddie, and again, thank you for the time. Your road in the UFC has been incredible. I mean, a who's who: Cerrone, Melendez, Pettis, RDA, Conor, Poirier, Gaethje. Arguably one of the toughest roads ever. You get this Nate Diaz fight. Where do you put him? Like in your mind, how tough is Nate Diaz right now? Where does he stack up considering the opponents you've faced thus far in the UFC?
He's up there. I barely look at ranking anymore because it's so subjective. Like I don't look at rank. I think guys who get ranked are just guys who the UFC is just trying to put in title contention. It's kind of what it seems like, but he's up there, man. And to be honest with you, I'm just trying to get the biggest names. And I've done that in the very beginning of UFC. I just want the biggest names. I feel like the people tune in for that. They want to see the biggest names fight each other, like two giant entities like Pepsi versus, or like McDonald's versus Burger King, like the biggest giant corporations fighting each other. So Diaz Alvarez would go well. Diaz Melendez went well. Alvarez Melendez. So like the biggest names we can get going against each other for the fans is always where I want to be at. And it's funny, I'm cool with these guys. Like Nick. Nick came to my after party in Texas after I fought in Dallas. After I fought Dustin Poirier, Nick I think was getting kicked out of the club, and my manager had an after party for us booked where we got to stay a little later, and I invited Nick up. And Nick came up. He hung out with me, my wife, my brothers, my friends. He hung out with all of us. I always been cool with Diaz. It wasn't until Mexico where, that shit happened with Nate. But even after that shit with Nick came up, hung out with us, and that was a year ago, something like that. And we chopped it up, and everything was cool.
So does it happen? What's your prediction? What do you think? Does it actually happen? You said UFC wants it. You want it. Does it happen?
It's going to be purely up to Nate Diaz if he wants to rumble or not. I'm here if he wants to do it. He said a lot of stuff, so we'll see. It's on him. And there's fans who go, oh, he just wants money. It's his money. Let me tell fans something. I know Nate's contract. I know it. I know exactly what he gets. I hired his management to when I was doing my McGregor deal, so I know his deal in and out. Nate's getting paid money. He's gonna make millions, regardless of who he fights. So like people saying, "Oh, he don't want to fight for 200,000 or 300,000. He won't fight Alvarez for 2." He's not going to. If he fights me, he's gonna make over $1 million, guaranteed. So don't worry about Nate making money. If he don't want to fight, it's because he don't want to fight the opponent. It's not because of your money. He's gonna make money. Everybody's gonna make money. So I just want to make that clear because like there's always like a reasoning behind fighting certain guys, and if it's a money reason, then I get it. I totally get it. I got a wife and kids at home too. You got to make money, but you don't make money. You're gonna do over $1 million for a fight. A couple $1 million, then money can't be the reason after that. So we'll see.
All right. Well, best of luck getting it. I'd love to see it. Years in the making. I think it makes sense from a whatever ranking, whatever stature standpoint, whatever you want to say. I feel like it's the fight that makes sense. So I'm curious to see if they actually get it done, if they can get it done, if they can convince him to get. Do you know if they've actually offered it to him, by the way? Like, have they approached him with the idea? Do you know?
I think he was offered me months back, not recently.
Okay.
I just got a call recently, saying, we kind of interest and what do we want on our end to make the fight happen. You know what I mean?
Huh.
So that just lets me know the promotion's for it. For it. So the next person in line is not to be me.
Okay.
And what was that? I wanted to say, hold on. There were some. I want to clear some things up.
Okay.
I forget. I love you guys though, and my fans, everybody out there, who's listening, who's supporting me and behind me. This shit is far from over, and I'm just getting warmed up and just having some fun with it. So I appreciate all my fans out there who continue to follow, and I'm gonna bring it every time.
Much love, Eddie. If you remember what you wanted to say, just text me. I'll read it on the air. All right.
I sure will. All right.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Thanks, Ariel.
All right, there he is, the Underground King, Eddie Alvarez.